All right, I've gotten my replacement router bits. The 1/4" bit is back in the router. I have not changed this setup at all. It's ready to just follow up with what I was doing. But I am going to take it a little easier on the bit. I think there was a problem with the bit. I don't think I was overloading it. But generally, you don't make full depth cuts when you're routing, because it can stress the bit, maybe burn the wood. Can also make the bits creep in the collet, even though I think that's just on maybe cheaper routers like I used to have. But because of the way I had set this up originally, I had to do those full cuts, and it's a wonder that actually worked anyway. It would not have worked with my old router, period. It was just not powerful enough. But generally, it's not a good idea to do those full depth cuts. You make a pass, move the bit a little deeper, make another pass, do multiple passes. But that's what I'm going to do this time, because it is a smaller diameter router bit and a lot of leverage on it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to make a test cut and then adjust the depth of the router. Geez, there's so many gouges on this. There it is. That's really small. Yeah, that's barely a 1/16. And even then, something that you guys may have noticed in the previous videos also, this isn't even flush with the table. So there's actually almost a 1/16, maybe not quite, of a gap there. I do need to make some improvements to this table, but that's for the future. Now what I'm going to do is make an adjustment down here. Let's see if you can see it. Here's an arrow and a line. You adjust this collar. This collar is just, or basically a ruler. You put that to 0, and then you, well, maybe I'll give it a try. You unclip it, and then this moves, and you adjust it up. I'm going to adjust it up 1/8, and then reset it. Now it's clamped in again. About 1/8. It's really only critical at the very final depth of cut. Actually, trying to do this on camera is with my safety glasses on, which is instead of my actually seeing eyeglasses. Yeah, that's just a little over 1/8. That'll be fine. Here's the piece that was being cut when I broke the bit. So, oops, put these back on. the other pieces, which make sure I actually do it in the right spot. It's going to be like that. Actually, no, I'm not. Getting in a hurry. I'm going to stop and I'll explain later. All right, the difference between the side pieces and the front and back pieces are that when you put these pieces together, let's get the light right. You put these pieces together, that's going to be hidden. It's going to be behind there. But the slot here is going to go there. If we ran it all the way through, it'd be visible once the piece was put together. It's going to be there. So we need to stop it, and it needs to be stopped at like 3/8. It's 3/8 deep. It needs to be stopped there. Okay. Going to need the end of the slot to stop right there. I don't want to go closer to the end. It might chip out. It might chip out anyway at this rate. But the router bit here, see if it's focused. I need this edge of the router bit there to stop here. So I'm going to find that. I'm not going to show doing this, but basically I'm going to tell you what I'm about to do. I'm going to make a mark here so that when I can put this on, start it, and move it, and route the slot. And I also have a corresponding mark here so that I will stop when I reach the right point. All right. We've got some plastic drafting triangles, which come in very handy for doing equipment setup because they're nice and square. What I'm going to do is need to get that bit with the cutting edge as far to the right as possible, where I got to get it lined up where it. And like I said, there's a little bit of slop here, but that's the way to do it. And then I'm putting the square against it. Of course, it's lining up with something that's not right there. So doing double stuff like this can be tricky, but this is the way I've got to do it. Put another square up against it. There. And the same thing for the other side. Of course, in this case, wow, just accidentally happens to line up there. What are the odds of that? Thank you, Jesus, that it's something that worked easily. So I'm going to extend that line up there. There. It's a little bit off, but actually that's just even a little more safely. I'm going to need to, chisel and trim out the last little bit of the slot anyway, because I'm just nervous of getting too close to the end. So that'll be great, and with the lines up here, I'll be able to see when I'm approaching it. All right, here goes. I need the slot here. Turn it over. I'm going to place it here and start it and put it down and then move it along. Actually, this is not, whoa. just all of you watching knew what I did, and I was paying too much attention to doing this video than paying attention to the fact that I had marked the very edge and I needed to go 3/8 of an inch away from it. This shows what happens when you're distracted. But thank you, Jesus. It was actually sloppy enough that there's a little, you can actually see through it. See the light on here. Let me show you. It's thin enough that you can actually see light through it. I mean, you think I would have noticed right when I was doing it, but I didn't. There we go. You'll notice that I went past. That's because since I got so near the edge before and it didn't chip out, I'm saving myself the effort of having to chisel this out once I get once I'm finished. So I moved past a little bit. Now there'll be plenty of room. I won't have these rounded corners, which will get in the way of putting the plywood going into the slot. Well, where are those router bits made? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. Made in China. And what measuring system do the Chinese use? Well, everybody except America, and maybe a few holdouts in England. Excuse me, I'm enjoying my coffee. Well, it's still in the router, but it's not a 1/4 inch router bit. It's a 5mm router bit. And I had heard about this before. I think it was Wrangler Star talking about chisels. See this chisel? This is made in China too, if I'm not mistaken. See there it says 1 inch or 25mm. Well, 1 inch is 25.4mm. And 1/2 millimeter, you can see that as, I mean, you know, if you look at it on a ruler, you can see there's a difference. And it'll make a difference on things fitting. Same thing on these. You got the 1/2 inch or the 3/4 inch is 19mm, which is not the same. 1/2 inch is 13mm, which is bigger than 1/2 inch. And then we have the 1/4, which is, they actually don't print it on here, but it is actually 5mm. It matches the size of this. And I also, it matches this slot. And I actually measured it with a little ruler. It's 5mm. So, which is not that big a deal, because all I need to do is make an adjustment on the fence, and then just slightly widen out all the slots, which I'm going to go ahead and do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw some pencil lines here. Actually, right here is where it matters most. I measure the difference, which was in the width of the slot compared to the thickness of the plywood, and it looked like about 1 millimeter. And then I actually did the math. If it's a 5 millimeter slot, converting that to inches, it's like 0.196 or something, and then the 0.234 thickness of the plywood, and subtract them, it ends up like 0.037 inches, and 1 millimeter is like 0.039 inches. I actually did all that using the calculator, but so it all verified. So I just need to move this about 1 millimeter, make that slot about 1 millimeter wide. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll maybe a little bit more. Having a little bit of play will actually be good. I'm just going to go ahead and widen all the slots.